Okay, so what if Revelation wasn't just a book you read, but something more, like a sealed, logical system that you're supposed to execute? Today, we're going to dive into a framework that sees Scripture as a kind of operating system for reality itself.
And that really brings us to this one central question. Is the Quran a book, or is it a code? We're going to explore this idea that it's not just text, but the actual architecture for a kind of divine program.
So here's the core concept. It's called the 237 Triadic Lattice, and the source material describes it as a perfectly sealed operating system. Think about that. A complete set of rules that governs, well, everything, from our origin story to our trials, all the way to our final sorting.
All right, so how does an operating system like this actually work? Well, it all boils down to one core mechanic. The whole thing is driven by this simple, repeating three-step law. It's the engine behind every single function.
And here are those 3 steps. First up, you've got injection. This is what introduces a condition. Think of it like planting a seed. Then comes curvature. This is what happens to that seed. Gets bent by the wind or maybe amplified by the sun. It's the process of change. And finally, there's convergence. This is what seals the deal. It locks in the final outcome, like the seed becoming a fully grown tree. Injection, curvature, convergence. That's the loop.
Now, the absolutely crucial thing to get here is the system's precision. This isn't random, not at all. The rules are incredibly strict. For example, different functions, like preservation and destruction, they have their own separate, non-mixing processes. Every single action resolves into a specific, predictable state. There's no chaos.
Okay, let's see how this actually works with the very first triad, the origin. The injection, that's Adam, who introduces the condition of responsibility. The curvature, the thing that bends the situation, is the choice created by his wife and the tree. And the convergence, the event that forces a final outcome, comes from Shayṭān, who forces a decision. See? The pattern holds.
So what this means is that even the so-called fall isn't some random accident. Nope. Within this system, it's a structured, quantized descent. And quantized just means it happens in distinct, measurable steps, not a chaotic tumble. The output is always organized, always leading to one of several predefined outcomes, or gates.
All right, now that we've got the basic mechanic down, let's take a look at a few of the system's other modules and see that three-step process in action again. Now, the system has a bunch of functions, things like authority and harvest, but for now, we're going to focus on 3 really key ones: purification, entropy, and reset. First up is the purification triad, and this whole function is designed to lock in spiritual refinement, and it does it through willing submission. So how does it work? Well, the injection is the promise of continuity through a son, Ishaq. The curvature comes from the father, Ibrāhīm, and his complete unwavering orientation to truth. And the convergence is sealed by the other son, Ismāʿīl, with his incredible willing submission. And look at the output. The result isn't destruction. It's a precisely calibrated trial that's designed to purify. And this is so important, right? Because it reframes all of life's tests not as random punishments, but as precision tuning for the soul. And what's fascinating is how perfectly balanced this system is. For every action, there's sort of an equal and opposite function. It has modules for total collapse, which is called entropy, and it has modules for complete recovery, called reset. Let's look at the failure mode first. Okay, so entropy. This is the system's terminal failure mode. It's basically what happens when noise gets injected into the system, a false signal that starts to corrupt everything and erase true information. And the mechanics here are crystal clear. The figure summary injects the noise by creating a false idol. Then, Pharaoh takes that noise and amplifies it, turning a simple distortion into an entire system of power. The convergence point? That's when truth itself is murdered. And the output is just irreversible decay, a total system collapse.
But here's the thing. Even a state that seems terminal has a counter-operator. That's the reset function. It's the system's built-in recovery mechanism, and it gets activated by one single incredibly powerful input: confession.
So Adam's admission of his fault, that's the injection that starts the reset. Yunus's confession from the belly of the whale, that's the curvature. And Ayub's profound patience, without any accusation through all his suffering, that seals the convergence. The output? Total restoration. It's proof that within the rules of this system, even paths that seem permanently locked can be reopened.
Okay, so we've seen the core mechanics, we've looked at a few of the functions, but what's the ultimate point of all this? What's the purpose of this system? That brings us to our final and maybe most important section, shifting from just reading the map to, well, to actually using it.
Because here's the big takeaway from the source material. This whole thing, this 237 triadic lattice, this divine operating system, it's not just a map that you're supposed to read and analyze and, admire for how complex it is.
It's a code that's meant to be executed. And that changes everything, doesn't it? It means it's not a passive diagram for us to study, it's an active program that's meant to be run, to be embodied by each and every one of us.
And this final quote just wraps it all up perfectly. It says that the journey of every soul is like a wave function, moving through these resonant cavities. What does that mean? Well, in simpler terms, it means we are each a signal, and our lives are literally defined by how we resonate with these different divine functions we've been talking about.
And so we're left with this really provocative question. It shifts the focus entirely. It's not just about what the Quran is, but what it becomes through you. It's an invitation to stop just reading the code and to start executing it. So the final question really isn't what is the Quran, it's when are you becoming